Joshua Amparan.
Do you speak Spanish?
Not well. I can understand it a lot more than I can speak it.
Michelle Mireles.
What's the most common thing you hear when you say no?
Why you should. Everyone says that, you should. You're Mexicana. I'm used to it now, it doesn't bother me any, but you know, for a long time I wondered why wasn't I taught Spanish?
I will say a lot of the people that I grew up with had similar upbringings where their parents were more fluent in Spanish.
I think there's more people because they said, pues, ¿quién es esta gringa? You know, ¿quién es esta gringa tan prieta? Está más prieta que yo.
I know.
Está más prieta que yo y mira, no puede ni hablar español. You know, ¿qué? Since I was in the military, you know, my wife and I traveled a lot. And so our children moved a lot and they were educated in Department of Defense schools. And so they never really had a chance to practice their Spanish except with us at home. People would automatically go up to my daughter, who's just as dark-skinned as I am, and start speaking Spanish to her, and then get after her for not speaking Spanish, you know. And she'd say, Dad, you know, these people are actually getting, some of them almost violent with me.
So here in San Antonio, in South Texas, you know, language has been at the very center of a number of discriminatory policies and actions, at the center of you know, the disinvestment in different communities, you know, and so we kind of have to begin really early on. So for most of the 19th century, Spanish was meant to be on an equitable plane with English, at least on the books, but that's not how it played out in every day.
During that time, there was signs all over the school, bathrooms, doors, everything, say it in English. I still remember it was a white sign with red lettering, but what bothered me the most was the fact that it kind of turned us against each other.
And those English-only mandates are what colored most of ethnic Mexican experiences in education and primary school education throughout the first half of the 20th century. So even though Mexican students can now go to, you know, schools with white folks, they still can't speak Spanish in school. And oftentimes students who speak Spanish in school are punished in any number of ways.
In school, I remember also speaking it or just turning around to say something in Spanish and then, Erlinda, go to the office. They would hit you with a paddle.
I recall hearing that they would have to pay a penny every time they were caught saying something in Spanish, or they would get paddled also.
And the kids start picking at me because they went, hey, you don't speak Spanish? I go, no, I understand it, but I don't speak it. But who in the heck do you think you are, white? And on the playground, I said something, and I don't recall what it was. It wasn't nothing derogatory, but I say something, and somebody, a teacher, somebody, you're not supposed to speak Spanish? And I go, I'm just trying to learn. What are you talking about?
That really stigmatized me. It really did, because I was punished, I was paddled, and all that. And you know, I think to myself, I want to learn English, yeah, but we went through a lot. It lasted all through elementary school, and I don't remember when they changed it, but I think we were in junior high before those signs started coming down.
I'm absolutely shocked every time I hear it, because I know from my perspective as a Black person, oh yeah, we experience racism, but for anybody else, I'm absolutely shocked when I hear it.
Remember, a lot of these parents went through this very same school system, right? And so what begins to happen by the 50s is that there are, you know, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of folks who are no longer learning Spanish at home or are actively being repressed from speaking Spanish out in the streets.
Well, Mama attended Edgewood Elementary, and she says she recalls clearly being in the 3rd grade and still struggling with her English. So then when we came around, when she had her children, she promised that we were going to be English only because that was the language that she felt we needed to learn.
Mom would just tell me that it just came down to school, you know, being in school, being treated different because you spoke the language, and just to protect us from all of that, they just decided, you know, just strictly English.
You know, I think just the fact that I know that they were trying to mold us by forcing us to learn English so that we could be assimilated, you know, into the mainstream. I know the intentions, you know, were good, but the manner in which it was done and the results, I never felt were good.
The result is that now, if we're looking at 2021, there are generations of Latinos who don't speak Spanish as a result of this deep history of language suppression.
In today's society, there's whole schools that are dedicated to dual language. You know, how ironic is that?
You know, it's explained by this history. You know, we're still looking at a really large population of students who just plain lost Spanish. The tensions within different communities, in this particular case, Mexican-American, Mexican communities around Spanish and whether one speaks Spanish or doesn't speak Spanish, oftentimes don't come from a place of really great historical knowledge. But there are generations of folks who lost it because of the systematic racism and the systematic suppression of the Spanish language.
My kids personally, you know, I want them to know Spanish. My twins take Spanish classes to try to get to speak Spanish.
My older son is actually probably more fluent in Spanish than I am. And I know now my father tries to talk to him almost exclusively in Spanish.
I think it's important that, you know, we recover, at least in some way, that language that was stolen from us, or that was, you know, if stolen is too harsh of a term for some people, but that language that was denied us in some way, right? So that's an important part of just identifying who you are, especially in a place like Texas, which is a bilingual, you know, capital in this country.